Hello there, welcome to the Ramble review, and today we're talking about Final Fantasy 16. Do not worry, I'm not going to spoil the entire plot. The most I'll talk about is probably like 2 hours within the game, which is like 30 minutes JRPG time, basically. But yeah, this is the world of Alistia, and we join our main lead, Clive. He's a bit older, but we do find out he was part of one of the many kingdoms of this world who covered mother crystals. And the mother crystals are what allow people to do magic from. And without those, they use bearers, which are slaves. Yeah, that's a big thing about this game, a slave like thing to it. But when he was a kid, some real bad shit happened that turned his life upside down. And now we join him when he's much older and kind of like I don't give a fuck, basically. Certain things happen, and he meets a man called Sid, who's kind of like an outlaw, whose main goal is to give everyone the right to die in their own right. So he's for the bearers. He wants to release bearers. He wants bearers to have their own life like everyone else. He hates how they're treated. And when you meet him, you also meet up with old friend Jill and your wolf, whatever, Torgal. Those are the two people you meet up with. Again, I'm not spoiling much. This is like the beginning of the freaking game. But you meet these two, and you basically, Sid takes you under his wing, basically, and tries to help you with your own goal, which I won't spoil because it's kind of big spoilers from the beginning. Again, it's really hard to talk about this game without spoiling everything massively, but he's helping you, but at the same time he's trying to change your worldview a little bit, see how things are, and your adventure goes with him. And also I forgot to mention another thing. Besides everyone fighting over these mother crystals, there are these people called dominants, who can turn into big old summons like in Final Fantasy games, which are called icons here. And so they could turn into like Shiva, they could turn into Titan, so on, Bahamut, so on and so forth. They could turn into these big massive beasts, and that's also used to fight the war over the mother crystals that everyone wants. And so yes, that's the basic like setup. It's Clive with his old friends and Sid joining his ragtag group and him teaching you life and everything like that. The characters are insanely likable. I love this Sid and I love Clive. Clive is fantastic. He's a great lead. He feels relatable. Even the dog Torgo is pretty cool too. Like, like they do a really good job with all these characters. The villains are pretty okay too. They are. I don't think they are as good. Well, some are a little better than others. They're not. I wouldn't call them bad. Some have a little bit to them. Some fulfill the purpose just fine. But I wouldn't call them like the best villains ever, but they fit their role fine. They're good. I enjoyed their interactions. I do think some are a little better than others, but besides that, yeah. Jill is, and like I remember when this game came out, not a lot, but there were some websites saying Jill's a crap character. She's not a good female lead. Bullshit. That's all I gotta say, bullshit. She is a fantastic character. She gets plenty of development. Even one of the big missions you do is surrounding her situation. So the people who are saying she's a bad character, no, she's a fantastic character. I enjoyed my time with her as well, and she's with you in the game a pretty damn good amount. So that's basically the plot. The story, how I feel about it. I think it's a great story. From beginning to end, I thought the conclusion was really good too. Yeah, so the story is worth it, and so are the characters. So those are two things definitely worth your time. Also, unlike the last main Final Fantasy entry, you don't have to worry about like reading anything, watching side movies, playing side games. This is a full story. Like you don't need anything else to understand what's going on. What is pretty cool is the game has basically like a dictionary for everything. So as you learn more and more things, you could you could look them up, look up the characters, so on and so forth. It's all very like helpful if you get lost, or say if you like stop playing for like a week or something. You can easily catch up, and anything that's like immediately important, there's a button you can push that brings up like a little journal that tells you everything that's happening right there and then, and what about them and why is important right now. Like it's this game, it tries its damnedest to not let you get lost or confused. But yeah, so that's another great thing about it. That it doesn't feel like you're missing something. You're getting the full game. You're getting the full information. There's even like a line graph you get later on to show like who are enemies or who are friends, like their relation, who what's their relations, all that type of. This game does a fantastic job keeping you up with everything. Now the gameplay is more of an action JRPG. You're hacking, you're slashing. It may feel pretty, I don't know, limited at the beginning, but once cause you yourself have the power. You're dominant, so you yourself have the power of like an icon and stuff like that. But you do get more of them as you play through the game, going in a final total of I think 8 of them, and you could have three bases at the same time to switch between to do powers and moves, like have fireballs spin around you, dash into people, freeze people with like spikes, big super moves like throwing giant thunderbolts. It's just everything has a cooldown time. So I guess the more helpful the move is, the more powerful it is, the slower it is. But yeah, you can switch between these 3 at a time, and the game lets you basically when you're not in a fight, lets you put what 3 you want every single time, and each icon has a base move. So for example, the Phoenix icon has a fast dash that's always there, but then there's 2 other moves within the icons that you could change around. So you could have a fireball, you could have him slashing fire, you could have him like with the ice one, you could have him uh, throw like a big triangle spear that hits him multiple times, or throw the ground move, stuff like that. Basically, you have a lot of freedom to mix it up. And what's also cool is as you gain, I guess, as you kill monsters, you get basically like blue orbs that lets you upgrade these moves. And usually the upgrading is just like the move hits you extra time, a new animation becomes more powerful, so on and so forth. And the last part of it is the mastered, which lets you actually take any icon move and put it in a different one. So I could mix my Phoenix, the Phoenix icon, and put a move from Titan there that I want. If I want to mix and match like that, there's a lot of creativity you can have with the combat with just the icon stuff. It just slowly builds up, and to kind of help with that, your dog Torgo can help you with in combat. So you could send Torgo to hit someone to launch him in the air. Then you could go out there and do a combo, smack them down, do a finisher animation, which kicks them again. Which well, then you can send Torgo again to do a rolling attack, and it's fucking fun. It's really enjoyable. It's easy to understand and fun to pull off. It's not. I'll guess it won't. It's not the deepest out there when it comes to I guess hack and slashes and stuff like that, but it's still insanely fun, especially once you learn about the dog. Because I was kind of confused. I didn't get the dog stuff for her first, but then once I saw the little thing in the lower left corner that lets you call the dog out and how he can actually like keep people in the air for longer combos, I started putting 2 and 2 together, and and just pulling off some cool combos and everything like that. Of course, as you kill people, I mean, kill monsters and people, whatever, you level up, which levels up your regular stats. You don't choose what stats you want to do. It just does your base stats level up. And as you said, you get this orb, but you also get money. And you can pick 3 items to use faster instead of going to the menu and clicking like a high potion, a potion to make your attack stronger, so on and so forth. You can pick 3 ones to do like a quick select, or you can just pause it and press to use the item, which I'm thankful for. At least you're not a slave to the quick select or anything like that. You also have party members join you. You can't pick them; they just kind of show up depending on what's happening on the story. They're not useless, surprisingly. I thought they wouldn't do. I thought they would end up doing like no damage at all, and like just suck and just die a lot or whatever. But they can't die, from what it seems. They could get hit, like to stun them or whatever, but they can't die, and they do enough damage that they do kill enemies. So they're not useless. They are useful. So that's pretty damn cool. Also, each enemy, as you're attacking, there's a meter below them. Well, certain enemies, mainly like the bigger ones, they have a stagger meter, and this is actually really important because when you when you get it all the way down, they totally are at your mercy. They can't attack you or anything, and you're allowed to put a full amount of punishment on the enemy when they're totally staggered out. The game shows you how it's just slowly rebuilding the stagger, so you do have a limited time, but you can go all out crazy. What's also cool is when you have the wind icon, you could, when they hit the first stagger, like halfway, you can actually use that claw to pull the enemy down to do more damage, or even interrupt them doing some big special move. The boss fights, there are a good amount of boss fights, and holy crap, there's the sub bosses, which are usually like they aren't regular enemies. They're like special enemies you face, and they can put up a fight, and they are fun as hell to fight. Same thing goes for the big fights. Like, you will be facing other icons, and these fights are amazing and awesome to see. There are some quick time events in them, but it doesn't feel overbearing or anything like that. It just adds to the visual like presentation of holy shit, this looks fucking awesome. But the fight itself is insane. Like, every time I'm like, how are they gonna top this fight? How are they gonna top this one? This is probably the best boss fights I've played this like year, or just like in just generation itself. Like, these are like top tier boss battles. They are insanely fun, and it's insane. I mean, they're insanely fun to play, and it's insanely fun to watch too. But yeah, so those are always something to look forward to. Those boss encounters, be it sub boss or be it like the big bosses. Another thing I forgot to mention about the combat is there's also 2 mechanics. There's like a dodge mechanic, and there's I guess you could say a parry mechanic. The dodge mechanic lets you dodge. You dodge at the right time, and lets you counterattack like right away, and it also negates damage. So it's good for offense and defense. You just got to time it just right. I never felt like the window was too small. It felt really fair. And then the other one is that I didn't really do a lot because I found the dodging one more helpful and easier to pull off. Is if you attack at the right time, the enemy will like basically like clash with you, and they'll like stun themselves for like 2-3 seconds in slow mo, so you can get some hits in. But this one I like rarely like did at all. If I did do it, it was most of the time on purpose. You also do get when you reach a certain part in the game, like a super mode you go into, that when you're attacking it, and it gives you some health back. Yeah, your allies can kind of heal you too. I know, again, this is a Ramble, so Your allies can heal you too, but only like slowly heal the health that's like the gray spot. If that gray spot in your health bar goes away, then they can't really heal that up. So yeah, they don't heal the green, but the super doom I was talking about does recover your green health, and you can actually increase the bars to it to make it last longer. So this is helpful, like in a pinch, if you don't have any potions or anything like that. And kind of speaking of the fighting again too, the game is kind of easy. The only time like I really felt like I was like against the ropes is if I fought something that was a higher level than me, and even then, as long as you have enough potions, you should be good. Because even those higher enemies, they can hit you and kill you kind of fast depending what the equipment you have and everything is. But yeah, so it's but most of the time I died maybe one time, and then that was like throughout the whole game, and that was it. And that was me being stupid. So yeah, this game is kind of easy, but it's still fun. Like in my opinion, an easy game doesn't mean a boring game, as long as the combat stuff is still fun, and that's where this game kind of falls. It's still fun, even though it's kind of easy. And speaking of the like the gear I was talking about, you have on, you can craft weapons, you can craft accessories and stuff to help you with your stats. Even you can also buy these weapons if you want, but I kind of found crafting was a little better because they would be a little stronger than the weapon you can buy, and you could upgrade them as well as long as you have materials. Though I never found myself having to upgrade any weapon. I was pretty okay with just whatever was the most powerful weapon at that moment to craft, and then I just kept going basically like that. I rarely like did a +1 or +2 upgrade to a weapon. I just didn't feel it was necessary. And yeah, and you could also buy accessories and stuff you could put on, like for like faster cooldown for certain moves, or uh, you could buy. Well, I used majority of my time. There are these 3 scrolls you could buy at a certain point in the game that increases the money, the orbs for your icon to level that up, and your general experience you get after each fight. So yeah, like you could there's some equipment and gear and stuff like that. But like I said, I mainly just crafted whatever from the armorer. I rarely bought the actual items. You're gonna have a lot of money by the time you're done with this game. The game does have some linear moments, but the map, they just have big map areas, and thankfully there's also fast travel spots within those things, because Clive moves kind of slow in these big areas, and they don't feel like annoyingly big, like something like Final Fantasy 12, which I always felt the maps were like too huge for its own good. These felt like decently sized maps. You could walk around and find, like I said, those materials and everything like that for the crafting. If you hold forward at a certain point, Clive goes like real fast and starts running. I really wish that happens much sooner, because my God, is he slow. I really wish that would kick in much faster. It takes a while for it to kick in. Thankfully, at a certain point in the game, you do get a steed you can ride, and that makes all the difference too. If you're not using the teleport points, if it's like a new area, that makes all the difference. Because my God, that steed goes super fast. Like I really wish you could just run with Clive from the get go, but you can't. The linear moments in the map only come when you do like a big like fight event that progresses the story, and you can tell what it is because on the map itself, because there's 2 maps. There's the map when you're in the whatever area you're in, that shows like the general area, and there's the overworld map. When the overworld map has like a red circle with like 2 swords, that usually means this is a big fight that's going to progress the story, and it's completely linear. That has like it'll probably have like 1 or 2 like quick paths you can go to find something, but it's really it's so linear you can't bring up the map screen when you're in it. Like there's no map for it because of how linear it is. But that's really the big linear part is that, which I don't mind because it gets to the point. That you still have the other maps to explore and everything like that. It doesn't keep you in a hallway or anything like that. So that's fine in my opinion. Also do like how the NPC's dialogue does change after certain big events, be it world events or whatever happens in that town itself. It helps make the world feel more alive. And thankfully, you don't have to press X to every NPC to hear what they have to say. You can just kind of walk by them and the dialogue will just pop up. I always found myself after every like big event going to the towns and seeing what people had to say to see if anything's different, and most of the time it was different dialogue. The game does have a lot of side content. Like wow, like there's a lot to do. The first thing is the side quests, which you get as the game goes along. As you do all the side quests, more keep going, going, going. I've heard some criticisms about these side quests, like, oh, they're boring, they're just kill X, or just go get this and bring this back, and so on and so forth. And the first thought in my head was like, how is that any different from any other like JRPG? Even something as like hailed upon like Persona 5, it is when it comes to side content of that. What is it? It's you talk, you fight something, and you talk some more. What matters in the side quest for this is what surrounds it. The side quests in this game helps expand the world and helps develop the world and the characters. You see them in certain circumstances, and you find out more about the bearers and how that situation is and how really fucked up it can get. Like, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but this shit is crazy. And with the characters, there are certain like key characters, like from the hideout or just characters you meet while you're going through the story or exploring the world. You find out more about them, about their past, their goals. Like you find more of their personality. It does a wonderful job developing, again, the world and the characters. These side quests are important, down to the very like last ones too. Like you should do all this. Also, these also get you items too. That's important as well. That like some of those cooldown items for the icon stuff, or like materials. You know, so they're important in that too. It gets you money, you know, so on and so forth. And it also gets you points like I don't know what the hell they're like reputation points, which in your hideout you could turn these in to get accessories and items and other stuff as well. But yeah, like these, like I don't, like I said, I don't understand the negativity against them. Yeah, what you do in them is pretty run of the mill, kill X, collect X, or whatever. But what they give you in return in the world and the characters is just, it's fantastic. I didn't feel like anything was a waste of my time. It wasn't like some girl asking you to help a cat in a tree and then the girl said thank you and that was it. No, majority of all these quests all help to develop like I said, the world and the characters. And what's also great about these side quests, you could take on a bunch of them, as many as you want at a time. You don't have to do one by one or anything like that. And your journal menu, in the menu in your journal, you could see where they waves from when to prioritize. You can see them on the map. There's even thing in the hideout that you could teleport directly to these quests too if you want to. So like just completing them is really easy too, in the sense of it's not like you have to like really go out your way. You can always find them easily and do them easily as well. Like it's never out the way. That's why it makes them worth it too. It doesn't feel annoying to complete any of them. Another thing that you could do besides side quests, there are bounties, which are more powerful creatures. These are usually monsters you find in the game itself, but they'll be like either colored differently or designed differently, so it's not too boring or anything like that. But these are more powerful, and they each have a letter for rank, so you can have an idea of how strong you should be. Even the strongest one, there was the one I beat when I was like, I think 5 levels behind, 5 or 10 levels behind. I was still able to beat him. It was just a longer fight, and I had to be really aware of my health because, again, like I said, you can get hit pretty hard in this game if you're not at the right level. But yeah, these were really fun as well. They also have like a little story you could read too of like why they want this person or this thing, this monster, whatever. They want it hunted down and taken out. But yeah, like that's another thing you can do with the bounties. Then you also have this totem that's in your hideout. And here you could there's arcade which you could take on any of the basically the sword things I was talking about, like the sword missions are linear. You could do any of those, but you get ranked by points, and by doing certain things you get more points, and the game limits like what gear you have and everything. So, but you can't gain any experience or money or anything from when you play the arcade. Then there's the stage replay, which lets you replay these stages. You don't have to worry about like rank or anything like that, but you can get experience, money, so on and so forth. And also you could, if that spot had like a chest or something that you missed, you could replay it and get that chest. So you have to worry about that. And any cutscene that's there too, you could rewatch it. It sucks that I can't just pick a cutscene to rewatch, and I actually have to replay the whole thing over again. But at least that's something. Like it's still, again, this is kind of a negative of the game that you can't just pick the cutscene, but it is what it is. There's also a training if you want to mess with like a lot of the icons and your skills or whatever. You could pick the settings you want. You don't want no cooldown, so you can just keep trying the moves. Pick the enemy you want to fight. So if you want to just train, you could just train out your loadout and everything, see how it is. You could do that as well. And then eventually, a certain point in the game, you'll find these totems also on the map, and these are other challenges that that limits you to. You can still keep all your items and everything. It's kind of like the station play. You still keep all your items, equipment you have, whatever you have right there, your level and everything. But it forces you to use certain icons. But what's helpful, what's great about this is after each wave is usually, I think it's 3 or 4 waves. There's 3 waves and a big boss fight at the end. So I think it's like 4 waves. Between each wave, you could change out your items. So, because the icon skills change here and there. So if you have like a certain icon skills that you want the cooldown for, you could change it for that one little run right there before the next stage to that run happens. Then you could change it out again. So it doesn't feel cheap in that sense. Also, you have to do it in a limited time. I completed a few of these. At first, I was getting frustrated, but once you kind of learn and have the right equipment and are at the right level, it becomes a little bit more easier. And the reward is usually like another accessory for that icon, like to make the attack much stronger and everything like that. And you can actually do harder versions of these that have limits, like the arcade mode I mentioned. You can do harder versions of these in that totem in the hideout if you want to. That's gonna be a question mark you see for a while. So once you do at least one of those totems like out in the field, that opens up and you can do a harder one if you want to test yourself even more. That limits your items, your gear, so on and so forth. This game is, I think it looks great. I love the designs. I love the character designs. I love the creature designs. Usually, a lot of the creature designs, well, some of them are from classic Final Fantasy. So when you see something, you're like, oh, okay. The how the summons icons look here is fantastic. I like their designs here. The new little designs. Again, the visuals are really good, especially, oh my god, when those boss fights happen, it's just like your eyes are just like, holy, it's a feast, just holy crap. There is a issue. There's 2. There's performance mode, and then there's, I guess, graphics mode. Graphics locks you in the 30 FPS, and performance mode is supposed to be 60 FPS, but it is not. At least when you're out in the field, because when you're in combat, it's 60, it's smooth, but when you're out in the field, it could be, you can see the drops. You can see them. It's there. but I just could not go to graphics mode because the 30 FPS lock, like I really notice it. Even when you walk, even in the kind of unstable performance mode when you're walking around, it still has smoother moments in that than in graphics mode. Like it bugs me, especially when it comes to combat. It drives me insane. I need that 60 FPS like at least for the freaking combat. Like and yeah, I personally played this entire game. Every footage you're seeing here is in performance mode. I got used to it. It didn't bug me as much. But unless you want like that 30 lock and you're fine with that, that's your option for graphics. Me, I stuck to performance. I just needed that 60 for combat. And when you're exploring, the frame drops that happen don't bug me that much. The voice acting is fantastic. Everyone does a banger of a job. You can feel the emotions, and there are some really emotional scenes in this game that like tug at your heartstrings, and like they just nail it. There is a Japanese track if you want to use that, but me, I used the English dub for my entire playthrough. I forgot to mention there's also a new game plus mode that this game has. It lets you play through the game normally if you want to, a new game plus with like all your items and your level, whatever, and you can just squash everybody. But you can also play Final Fantasy mode, which increases the enemy's levels, changes your level cap from 50 to 100, and also remixes the enemies so you'll be facing like stronger enemies that you don't see till like way later in the game. You see them way sooner. So also there's a new weapon you can make that's I think it's the Ultima weapon. You can make that. You can upgrade weapons even further. There is like a lot. You can even upgrade those things I mentioned before that like say gives you more XP and stuff like that after a fight. You can even upgrade that because you couldn't upgrade that in the base game. But when you do Final Fantasy mode, you can actually upgrade items like that to make them stronger. So there's something else to do after you beat the game if you want to run through it again and have like a more, I guess, challenging experience. There's something there besides just it being hard. Overall, this game was just fantastic. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Enjoyable combat system that kind of grows with the icon powers. Enjoyable cast of characters, like I said, Clive, Jill, Sid. I enjoyed being around them from beginning to end. And a grossing story. A shit ton of content, like the side quests, the bounties, the slabs, totems, whatever around the world, and the base. It's a lot of stuff. The new game plus, the Final Fantasy mode. Mind you, I only did all the side quests and all the bounties. There were still some things I didn't fully do yet, and I got 80 hours out of it. And there's still a lot more to do if I want to keep going with it. But yeah, like overall, a definite must play. Like it's a fantastic game. The only like real big negative is more performance stuff. Like I said, I wish performance mode was 60 all around and not just in combat. I hope one day they fix that, but as I mentioned, it didn't bug me too much. Like, it didn't ruin my experience, but it would be appreciated to make everything 60 instead of just the combat. Yeah. So I hope you didn't mind my ramble, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.